नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। दोस्तों, आज आपको पता ही है कि उमर साहब ने आज सीएम का पद जो है आज शपथ ले ली है। साथ में डिप्टी सीएम चौधरी साहब को भी उन्होंने जम्मू क्षेत्र से जो आते हैं उन्होंने भी आज शपथ ली और भी 5-6 मंत्री उनको उन्होंने शपथ दिलाया, जिसमें जम्मू संभाग से मेनली 3 है और बाकी कश्मीर संभाग से हैं। तो इसी पे आज हम चर्चा करने जा रहे हैं कि इलेक्शंस कैसे रहे, क्या रहा और क्या उसमें एनालिसिस किस हिसाब से उसमें स्ट्रेटजी अपनाई गई। इसी पे बात करने के लिए आज हमारे बीच में डॉक्टर विजय साजावाल जी हैं, जो कि ऑथर हैं द कश्मीर क्रॉनिकल्स, और बहुत सारे जो आपको पता ही है कि यूएसए जो है गवर्नमेंट उनको एडवाइज़र भी रहे हैं कश्मीर पॉलिटिक्स से रिलेटेड, और यूएन में जेनेवा में भी और यूके पार्लियामेंट यूएसए पार्लियामेंट में भी बहुत जगहों पे इन्होंने वहाँ पर कश्मीर की बात रखी है। तो मैं वेलकम करता हूँ डॉक्टर विजय साजावाल जी को द कश्मीर डायलॉग में। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। वेलकम सर।
शुक्रिया, नमस्कार।
डॉक्टर साहब, आज की जो आपको पता ही होगा कि आज ओथ ली गई है, जैसे मैंने पहले ही बताया, नई सरकार जम्मू कश्मीर में बनी है। तो पहले मुझे आप एक बात बताइए कि हाउ डू यू सी द असेंबली इलेक्शंस ऑफ 2024 and how it was different from the prior state elections?
Thank you. I again wish you and your viewers a namaskar. Today, it's a very interesting time because I think
डॉक्टर साहब, शुरू करने से पहले थोड़ा सा मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ अपने दर्शकों को कि जो ये आज सेशन होगा इसमें डॉक्टर साहब मिक्स लैंग्वेज यूज़ करेंगे, हो सकता है बीच में कश्मीरी भी यूज़ करें, तो इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी आज यूज़ करेंगे। रीज़न ये है कि बहुत सारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं अक्रॉस द कंट्रीज़, तो उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट भी बहुत बार की है कि हमें हिंदी या इंग्लिश समझ नहीं आता है, उर्दू कश्मीरी समझ नहीं आता है। तो हो सकता है जी कि डॉक्टर साहब इंग्लिश ज़्यादा यूज़ करें, हिंदी भी यूज़ करेंगे, तो उसके लिए हम आपसे क्षमा प्रार्थी हैं। तो डॉक्टर साहब प्लीज़ कंटिन्यू।
So the election was a very watershed moment, in my opinion, on the Jammu and Kashmir's politics, and I'm going to use the benchmark of 1996 because that was also an election that happened after many years of central rule, and this also happened after 5 years of central rule. So at that time, in 1996, Mr. Gowda was the prime minister, and it was a very difficult time, quite honestly, for India. They really had a lot of international pressure to hold Kashmir elections. I don't think Kashmir's security situation was very good, and most of the security officials, quite frankly, were very disappointing. Not least of them is one of the guys who was today at the ceremony as a guest. But the fact is, the person who was put in charge of these elections at that time was the Home Secretary, and Padmanabh Bhaiya was trying very hard to get candidates, parties to show up for the elections. And nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to be in the elections because Pakistan had said to Kashmiris, you will not participate in the elections. So you had essentially a threat from Pakistan. And I will say it goes to the credit of National Conference at that time. And in particular, I will particularly say Farooq Abdullah, who agreed to take on the challenge. There were a lot of compromises made subsequently, but I will not go into those compromises. I have spoken about it in my book. I have spoken about it also in other programs. But the fact is, he was a lone person. And I remember Padmanabh literally begging. I mean, I'm literally telling you, like, where he sat down and tried to fold his hands to get people interested in the election than he wasn't.
Mhm.
And look at today, every party that is there in Kashmir, whether it is, whether it is legal, illegal, covert, overt, they all participated in the election. They participated in the election in spite of what Pakistan might have said in the signals publicly and
Even Jamaat
everything.
Islami, though
And
they were always
every one of
against the
them was
elections.
presented.
Yes. Mhm.
So to me, it was a great success. So you have to today recognize and salute the Indian democracy for having created a tent, if you will, a tent where all the followers of whatever faith, whatever political dispensation you are, found a way to come under that tent and participate in this public duty, civic duty, and be part of the program. So today, nobody can say, if I had been there, I would have won. If I was not, if I had done this, I would have won. I would have done this. I would have done. They were all allowed in. So I think the central government and particular Modi ji, I think he played a very, very important sort of a trump card here in the sense that he basically said, no, let's let everybody in. Now, having said that, the public reacted very favorably. The election was in three phases.
Yes.
The first phase, I think, was like 59% participation. The
Mhm.
second phase was a little bit lower, 54%. And the last phase was like 64, 65%. So you had
65%.
really, and that was the biggest phase that had 40, seats on the dock. So you had really a tremendously successful election,
Elections.
and I think you cannot say today, nobody can say today, even opponents cannot say today that this election did not encompass the entire, public feelings and sentiments. And as always happens in a democracy, when you have an election, you have winners and losers, and it really opened up the eyes about what kind of people won and what kind of people lost. So from that perspective, you have to congratulate, first of all, National Conference for
Yes.
having won very, very handily in the valley, and BJP for having, first of all, conducted this election, and then having also received a strong mandate in Jammu. So I
Mhm.
feel very strongly that this election was a page turner from the perspective of, I don't think people will be foolish enough to talk about what happened in the past. What happened in the past is gone. We don't talk
Yes.
about 80s, and I'm talking about elections. We don't talk
Elections.
about
Yes.
80s and 90s and
90s.
and 2000s. We talk about now what happened
2020.
in 2024, and in this election, everybody showed up, and we finally know what the people of the state of Jammu and Kashmir want.
Yes. Dr. Saab, if you say both BJP and NC were successful in their respective regions, huh, why did not BJP do well in Kashmir and NC not in Jammu region?
Well, I think it's a matter of strategies. I don't think you should really go by what every party says in public before. You see, this is one of the big problems. Well, in most democracies of the world, people have learned that there is a before election and there are after election. These are two distinct different phases. You don't mix the two. You have to first win the election before you can do what. So what you say before winning the election may not necessarily end up to be what you do after the election.
After
Of
the
course, it
elections,
cannot
yes.
be dramatically different, because then the people will feel you have betrayed their promises. But in terms of the strategies, see, this is important. Strategy is one thing, and implementation is another thing. So implementation of the policy has to be consistent with what you did before, but how you reach to the decision point of the election and win it is a different thing. So let's take the case of national conference. National conference, after the parliamentary election, certainly decided that they came out, they did something very good there. I mean, they fielded essentially Shia members of the community. So thereby they actually showed the party is not a party of Sunnis only; it's a party of Sunnis and
Yes.
Shias.
Yes. Yes.
So that was the first signal that they were basically encroaching the territory of PDP.
Mhm.
And then they did something very interesting. They actually joined hands with Congress. And at that time, I already made a statement that that was really for convenience. That really was not a meeting of the minds of the brains. And it's funny because Omar Abdullah, after the winning the election, actually also admitted that that was a strategy, and the strategy was he because they had decided they're going to name every party as party which is associating with BJP. They had no proof. There was no basis to argue. Party A, B, C, D was basically
B.
BJP B, BJP C. There
C.
was no
Yes.
proof. But that's immaterial. That's a strategy, and
Mhm.
to insulate himself from that particular charge, he basically aligned with the NC, so nobody will accuse him of having colluded with BJP. So that
BJP.
was the main reason why they joined with this. It was not a meeting of the minds and emotions and all
Mhm.
that stuff. It was meeting of convenience, where they basically sort of. And I think for NC also, quite honestly, I think they had high expectations, and part of their thinking was not really good. And let me first finish the BJP, and then I'll come to the INC. Uh, the BJP, on the other hand, had a different strategy. They kept provoking people. See, their idea was they wanted participation in the election. That was their number one strategic goal. They wanted to show to the world Jammu and Kashmir is part of the India, and their people are actually enjoying the fruits of the democracy, and they are voting no matter what Pakistan or anybody else or whatever militant.
Mainly projecting the
So
abrogation.
they provoked the people. We are going to
Yes.
win. We are going to
Yes.
win. They knew
Mhm.
darn well they're not going to win. But that was a
That is why
provocation.
they didn't put their candidates in Kashmir Valley.
That's right. And
Few,
they
only
kept saying,
19
we will
people.
win, we will win.
Yeah.
So it was very clear that strategy was to get people out on the street, get them involved. They really didn't, at the end of the day, you have to understand, if everybody is swearing the Constitution of India, what is the problem? Why would anybody react and reject anybody's participation as long as he was basically saying, I believe in the Indian polity and Indian constitution. And besides, I think the ground reports were very clear. I mean, I have gone on record even in your program saying a few months back that NC was going to win hands down. Everybody knew that. I mean,
Yes.
that was the ground intelligence, and was not unique, because they have the only ones who have basically had people on the ground working day and night in this area. So they provoked people. I'm talking about BJP. They provoked people. They got them out. So that was their first success. The second success they had is they wanted to neutralize INC, and they knew that's not going to happen in the valley. That's NC's job. We're going to do that in Jammu. So in Jammu, they played that part and pretty much kind of annihilated INC. Congress became was toasted, so to say. And
Mhm.
but look at the but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what is BJP's strategy? And to
Mhm.
understand that, you really have to understand BJP always plays a long game. They don't look at next election and next election. I mean, people in Kashmir should be wiser. They started the campaign for 370 in 1950. All
Yes.
right, so it took
Shama Prasad
70 years.
Mukherjee's.
It took
Yes.
70 years to get there.
Mhm.
And they have a goal in Kashmir, that Kashmir should be, and this is what Amit Shah ji said actually in the very first meeting with the BJP that I described in your previous program. He
Yes.
said that to them. This was 3 or 4 months before, at the same place, SKICC in
Yes.
Srinagar, when he came to Srinagar first time after becoming the home minister. And he said, at the end of the day, I want to see no distinction between this state and the rest of the
and
country states.
and
So in other words,
yes,
we will be winning. BJP will be winning, but it's not. It's a long game, and you can see the success is there. I mean, in the sense, if you look at the vote share, so they, that is their major right now, because they're not looking at seats. In
it is
fact, if
more
you
than
win any seat, I will
25%
be
now. Yes,
surprised. They're looking at vote share, and the vote share has steadily gone up.
increased.
And
Yes,
I was looking at, in fact,
it is more than NC. Yeah, it is more than
I was
NC.
looking at some of the data. In 2002 election, they had one seat in the assembly, one seat, then it kept growing up, and went to 17, then to I'm
11,
sorry, went to 11, went to 25, and now they're
now
now
29. Yeah.
they're at 28. And so,
29.
even look at the let me give you the interesting, let me give you the hardcore places where Kashmiri Pandits live,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
like Habakadal. Habakadal Hindu and Sikh population together is 4.43%. And we know most of those people didn't vote. That's a
They
different
didn't
story. I'm
vote
not going
also.
to address
Yes,
that here.
yes, yes.
But the BJP vote share in Habakadal was 15%.
Hmm.
So that tells you a lot of Muslims actually
Coming
voted,
out. Yes.
came out and voted for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
candidate, voted for Ashokji. Lal Chowk, 4.4% Muslim Hindus and Sikhs, 8.9% vote share.
Hmm.
Tsar and Sharif, 2.08 and 2.4. So it's a little bit more, but not a heck of a lot. But Anantnag, 1.79% Hindus and Sikhs, 5.37% vote share. Anantnag, 1.79 and 10.68%
Vote share.
vote share. So what I'm giving you, Sopore, here is Sopore, 1.29% Hindus and Sikhs are registered there, and the vote share was 11.6%.
Hmm.
So what I'm saying is that they are increasing their vote share. They are, so you
In
cannot say
Habakadar, Dr. Saab, in Habakadar, BJP was second.
yes,
And
and
second number. Yeah.
and so was, so
And also at Grays,
at
it
Gurez, I was
was.
going to say, at Gurez they were lost by a few votes only.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is that it's a long game from them. So the fact they didn't do a good job here, I don't think anybody was really expecting it. If you
Mhm.
ask me which is the closest model that they have, for Kashmiri Pandits particularly, I'm very concerned, because they're really not politically mature in that sense,
Mhm.
understanding how the dynamics of the national politics works. So for
That,
them,
that,
I will
that,
tell
that,
you.
that is the. I wanted to put up the next question. As you
Okay,
know,
let me finish. Let
now.
me finish. Let me
Yeah.
finish this.
Okay, okay,
The
sir. Please.
model for Kashmiri Pandits to understand is Tamil Nadu.
Hmm.
Tamil Nadu is the long game for BJP.
Mhm.
Same conditions. You have a very ancient civilization, Hindu civilization there. You have a leadership there right now which does not think in terms of, it thinks itself to be separate, different culture and things like that. They have big issues with the Hinduism in general, and with BJP in particular. And there, BJP is not winning anything, but BJP hasn't given up.
Yeah.
And BJP is in for the long game. Now, even in Kashmir, actually, in August, Ahmed Fayaz, who is a well-respected journalist, he actually interviewed Hina Bhatt,
Hmm.
who was the chairman of the Khadi, and actually is a
Khadi
big
Gram Udyog.
employment
Yes.
creator in the valley. And,
Yes.
and and he asked her, "Don't you think BJP is going to lose?" This is in August. And she
Hmm.
said, "Yes, we know that we're going to lose, because BJP is not in it for the short term; it's
Hmm.
in it for the long game." So that's the thing. Now I'll tell you, even national, even Congress actually made something out of this inclusion. Congress had a big problem. Congress had a problem that they did not realize. They did not have, understand who the good actors are. One of the things they did is that they always been entrusted the leadership of the state in the hands of the Valley Muslims.
Hmm. Hmm.
When, bulk of their appeal, I think, is in Jammu region. And the second thing is they got this Rasul Wani,
Hmm.
which everybody knew was a shady character, and actually was proven to be shady character in
Mhm.
in this election. And I'm as an independent, I'm sympathetic to all, or I equally, but I felt like uh, Ghulam Ahmad Mir's ascendancy again as the leader of the legislative party is good, because
Yes.
actually this election helped the people in Delhi understand the good guys and the bad guys in their party in the state, because I think they were being taken for a ride by Mr. Rasul Wani, and I think so they it may end up to be a good news for them also. Next.
I was just talking about the Kashmiri Pandits, is that none of the Kashmiri Pandits candidates that entered the election phase in Kashmir succeeded. Why is that? And can a Pandit candidate ever succeed
Yeah.
given the experience of 2024 elections?
That is there are a lot of people looking at it and answering it superficially, but the fact is, few months back I actually tried to get some the heads of the minority cells of various state political parties to get in touch and write a joint letter and ask for some constituencies being selected in the valley, like Habakadal, only for KP candidates. Uh, the feedback, none of them actually pursued it. So then I myself contacted some people in these parties at the senior level, and I was told, yeah, they did reach to us, and the answer was very simple. The answer was, come to the valley and stay here, work with the
General
constituents
masses.
of that locality, and that's how you will basically create. Now I'll tell you, was this done to kind of throw out Kashmiri Pandits and give an answer that they didn't want to like? But the truth is, I have a friend in NC. His name is uh, Tanveer Sadiq. Tanveer is now he's a principal spokesperson for the
National
NC.
conference.
But I knew him when he was actually a PDP member, and it was funny because in early 90s, when I started going to United Nations and all that, he got in touch with me. He said, Sazawal Saab, you are speaking about fate of minorities in Kashmir. We are also Shias, we are also suffering. You please talk about us. That
Them
cultivated the
also.
relationship.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then subsequently, he tried his luck with the municipality and all that, and then eventually joined. When
National conference.
Umar became the chief minister first time, he became his political advisor and all that and all that. So it's very interesting. 2 years back, he got in touch with me and said, I have been assigned Zadibal constituency.
Constituency.
I said, election is not, we don't know when the election. He says, no, 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 no. That is not how NC is operating. They think it will be still a year or two before elections will take place. I'm talking about 2 years back. And I have got to be there and I have got to work it. Actually, I tried to connect him at that time with some of the, Ranawari KPs and all that, but I don't think it worked out. But anyway, that's not important. But the important thing is, if that's what they did with Tanveer, that's what they must have done with everybody else. In other words, you work on the ground for a year and a half, and then you deal with the situation. Whereas our people, they sit in Jammu, they say, all right, a week earlier before the election, we'll show up there, we'll go up, people will be nice. They will, of course, people will be nice. They will talk and all that. And we'll be talking about how Kashmiri Pandit issues. Well, your constituency's majority is really Muslim, and you have got to be broad in our outlook. You have got to show. So I don't think it's going to work. I think it's only going to work if, first of all, you have the maturity of understanding how politics is done, and then second, you have to line up with the parties which are mainstream to the local scene. I'll tell you, among the candidates that I looked at, quite honestly, in my opinion, only one met the criteria, and nobody in Kashmir, in Kashmiri Pandit community knows much about her, and that is Aarti Nehru. She was the only one who showed the maturity of a politician. All the other ones, they sounded like leaders of sabas. Sabah A, Sabah B, Sabah C. They were talking like as if they are still in, they have to fight an election among Kashmiri Pandits. And
So I want to talk about the Habakadal KP voters, our candidates.
Mhm.
Number one is Ashok Kumar Bhatt. He got 2899 votes,
Right.
2,899. Another is our leader Sanjay Saraf Saab. He has got 265 votes. Another KP is Ashok Sahib Sahab. He has got 97 votes. And Nanaji Dembi got 65 votes.
Right.
This is the situation when you come from Delhi and don't mix up with the constituency people. So how can they give you the votes?
Well, you see, they go by the fact that, hey, I got out and 20 Musliman came out and said, nice, you are nice.
Sir,
And
you
they
are
don't
nice.
understand
They
how,
hugged me. That you are our
yeah,
everything.
it doesn't work that way. You have to work. And I will tell you,
Yes.
it's very interesting. You give me these numbers.
Hmm.
Aarti was in Sopore. Sopore had 20 candidates.
Yes.
Some were big guns, including, by the way, Guru's brother, Ajaz Guru.
Yes.
And she gets, and there's hardly any support she has, and she gets 471 votes,
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
than other than Ashok ji, more than anybody else. Ashok ji is from the professional party, other than
Yeah.
anybody else among the KPs there. And
She had
it was very
worked
clear to me.
tremendously and on foot, and her father was also
Yes, see, that's
at
why
ground. Yes.
that's where her maturity comes from, because her father was involved in Rafiabad politics, and her mother
Yes,
was
yes.
a corp, in the municipal and other activities. So, but I saw her being there, and I will tell you today, if you ask me, outside of her, because she's back in Delhi, the person that I really think people should look up to is Sharia Handu. Sharia is again a very, very, very talented, has all the attributes that a politician should have. So people have to decide: are we selecting a Sabha leader, or are we selecting a political leader? And I will tell
Yes.
you right now, if you are interested in lining up with somebody, and now you say, but Sharia is with NC and all that and all that. See, you cannot get everything. You have to decide. You want to back somebody, because she's not going to forget it if you help her. But to me, in maturity levels, in terms of their public expression, only two people impressed me in this particular election scene. Of course, one was a candidate, the other one wasn't. And one is Aarti Nehru, and the other one was Shriya. And again, it's a strange. Both of them are ladies, but but that's how it's coming out to be. It's not. There has not been a lot of maturity shown. Even quite honestly, with the power that Mr. Ashokji had at Havakadal, people don't realize it. He actually preempted his prime minister in saying some things about Kashmiri Pandit plans that he was in an interview that he should not have been speaking about, because that was the Yojana that prime minister was going to announce subsequently, and he had privy to. See, he didn't have the maturity to understand you cannot make public statements ahead of your your boss. But
Yes.
because he wanted to score some points, Haji, हम ये करेंगे, हम बनाएंगे, advisory group बनाएंगे, वो बनाएंगे, ये बनाएंगे. There, he was not supposed to say those things. He was supposed to say, there is a plan coming up. I'm going to let Prime Minister speak about it, or our Home Minister speak about it, because they are the ones who are principal spokesperson for the party. You need a lot of political maturity in dealing with
Maturity. Yeah.
those kind of matters.
Dr. Saab, coming back to this NC government now, will this government be successful and stable? Can it deliver on the promises of statehood, जो भी इन्होंने मैनिफेस्टो में बताया है अभी तक? Do you think they will be successful in delivering?
Well, see, first of all, I think the government is stable. It's very interesting. Of course, today Omar Abdullah took the oath, and with five ministers. He had requested one more minister. My understanding, it was going to be Mr. Mir, but Kala Saab, with obviously with the approval of his boss, asked for two seats, two ministry berths, which was really unrealistic, quite honestly, in my mind. So they chose not to join the government. But at the end of the day, quite honestly, I don't think they need it, because I mean, Umar has taken very strategic decisions, which are really very important. I mean, everybody knew Surinder Chaudhary was going to get a job, because he was the giant killer from Navshera.
Yeah.
So that is not a surprise. But what is a surprise is that he's going to be a deputy CM. I don't think in my really I had a vision that there will be anybody as a deputy CM, because there would have been one from the obviously INC, if INC had performed better, especially since given the fact that NC actually won a few seats in the Jammu region also. In a way, I would say their performance in Jammu was better than even INC's performance in Jammu. So,
Exactly. Yes.
I think him, and then there's another minister also from the which is an NC sort of a pseudo INC man, and so Sharma ji. So you have two Hindus, you have two Jammu people, you have a lady from Valley, you have another Muslim gentleman. So it's a very balanced and a very stable ticket. I mean, he still has two slots. By the way, he can fill two slots.
There are three from Jammu. One is Rana.
Yeah, that's what I
Rana
said.
is also
So,
from
so,
Jammu.
so
Yeah.
three from
Three.
Jammu.
Three. Yeah.
So two, what I'm saying is three Muslims, including one from Jammu,
Yeah.
and two Hindus.
Yeah. Yeah. Two Hindus.
So what I'm saying is that he has still two open slots.
Mm.
My recommendation is Tanvir should get one, because he represents the aspirations of his faith, and he has done a good job, and the party is doing good. But let's see. But the fact is, it's a very stable. They don't really need INCs, but the fact is, it does. It was funny because in the media in Delhi on the election day, if you notice the screens, the Congress party had told everybody, it should be Inc. plus. In Kashmir,
Mm.
it shouldn't be NC plus. Whereas NC was calling them and saying, no, it is NC
And
plus.
plus.
It's not
Ink
India plus.
plus. It is not
So
ink plus.
it was very interesting games being played. But I think the government is stable. I think the government will be stable. I think, of course, performance is an important thing, and
Mm.
and it was very interesting for me to read a few weeks back, when the election results came out. One of the star journalists from Kashmir said, "Oh, Kashmir is different." So the guy said, journalist said, what is different?" He said, "Well, if they cannot get rid of, they cannot put Umar Abdullah in jail like they did
Mm.
with Delhi Chief Minister. It's too sensitive a
Well done.
state to do that kind of thing, and that was a kind of an immature statement, because if Umar Abdullah commits crimes, and those crimes are punishable, he will go to jail, and then courts can decide whether or not he needs to be released or
Released
not.
or
And
not.
so it's not so he was making light of the fact that
Mm.
the Delhi chief minister's problems are kind of politically motivated, when they may or may not be, but the fact is legally they are sound. So.
Mm.
But I think overall he's on a good start, so I think that
Uh,
should work out
Dr.
well.
Sab, Dr. Sab, will they have a different policy for Kashmiri Pandits? So, what do you think on it?
Well, the you see, this is a this it comes in. It's a very lengthy explanation, but I will tell you the gist of this thinking is the decision on Kashmiri Pandits, by virtue of the fact that it is run through the packages that came out from Manmohan Singh government's time and were vetted with the parliament and with the Supreme Court. They really cannot really do much beyond the contours that are defined by that. That's what I explained at length in the last program that I did for you. So they cannot really change dramatically from what they have done right now, and for them it's a very easy answer, because we agreed, community agreed that it should be a separate outside of the J&K budget program.
Mm.
So if I were right now a leader, Sabha leader of Kashmiri Pandits in Jammu, my number one slogan would be get the Kashmiri Pandit rehabilitation as part of the budget of the J&K state budget. That is should be the number one goal, not who's going to get how much more aid, how many more rupees, or how many more atta, or that kind of thing, or advisory committee, or anything like that. Number one should be get it, because as long as it's not part of the J&K budget, quite honestly, J&K state can always say, "Hey, I conveyed your request to Delhi. It's for Delhi to
They,
change the policy."
mm,
So it's not. It's a very we gave away a lot of our rights when we agreed to that kind of dispensation, and I have gone in length about saying that, criticizing it. I was one of the few people, 10,000 miles away, trying to tell the government, I mean, people of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, Pandits of Pandit, that's a wrong policy. It should not be done. You'll pay heavily for it, and that's why we are suffering on it. So I don't, in simple words, I don't expect a dramatic change in the policy. I see them basically, obviously, working with the BJP government in Delhi, and but if people are thinking again there will be new jobs, and there will be land in Kashmir, free job, no, free land, and more jobs. I think they are not being realistic. You see, one of the interesting things that people in Kashmiri Pandits don't realize is they don't ask themselves why did the Supreme Court reject Kashmiri Pandit petitions not once, not twice, thrice. And you could argue, well, you know what? It was the same chief justice. No, it was three different chief justices, because
yes.
the deal is already insular. It has been packaged, already made. Don't
Mm,
we can't. They will not mess around with it. And sooner it gets into the heads of our Sabha leaders, sooner it will be. So my advice again, let me repeat: number one goal should be get the rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits as part of the J&K state budget.
budget, state budget. Dr. Saab, coming back to Umar Abdullah as the new chief minister, what do you think? Will he be the successful? What are your experiences from him, and do you know him?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Let me turn you back, Mr. Rana. Where were you in 2009, 15 years back? Where were you? Are you in college?
I was no, I was doing job in Jammu,
You were doing job in Jammu.
2009. Yeah.
Were you involved in political matters then also?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
I
that's good.
was, I was, I was.
Because 2009 is really a consequential year for Kashmiri Pandits,
Hmm.
whether people realize it or not. It's a
Uh,
consequential year. Of course, Omar Abdullah became the chief minister on 5th of January.
no. Those days, I want to interrupt. Those days, I was. We were fighting for these PM package jobs with RK Butts, Youth All India Kashmiri Samaj.
Right,
We
right,
were
right,
on roads on those days. Yes.
right, right, right.
But
And
unfortunately, when this it was declared that youths will be given jobs, but I was overaged 2 years.
I'm so sorry to hear that. But
Yes.
the 2009 started with that. So we had a lot of actually uh, uh, things happening that year. We had the first order came out. People don't realize it, but may realize it. But in you had in September, you had the order, government order 116, which gave out the Apex Committee. So they formed the Apex Committee. They named the people in the
Yes.
Apex Committee.
Mhm.
So that was so they are what they are doing in 2009 is they are implementing the decisions that had been already put in place by the Manmohan Singh government, as things are on. You have already, for example, Jagti under construction, and that sort of thing is happening all the time. And then you had the next item was the part of the implementation, which was SRO 412,
Mhm.
which was at the end of now. It's very interesting. Delhi, in its in its mass ignorance, forgot that there are still Kashmiri Pandits living in the valley. And
Yes.
SRO 412 did not address those people. Now that's a different story. It took what? It took almost 8 years before 2017 before they were recognized as also being in a similar state. But that is the
Yes.
nature. See, that is the nature of the cruelty. I will tell you. You make an interesting point. I've spent a lot of years in those, a lot of times in those years, telling Kashmiri, because SRO 412 has come out, but still the jobs aren't showing up because this is December 2009.
Yes.
Jobs
Yeah.
aren't showing up. You are out there with Mr. Butt and others, and
Yes.
I will tell you on this program today, and I hope Mr. Butt understands. I have great regard for him, respect for him. Even he was one of the people I tried to convince that when you go outside the LG's, I mean governor's office, those days it was governor, and shout for these jobs, include the name of Kashmiri Pandits who have not left the valley. And he never did. Even though he promised me he was going to do it, he never did. My demand was SRO 412 should be modified to include Kashmiri Pandits who never
Understood.
left the valley.
Left the valley.
And
Yes.
he was not the only one, so I shouldn't point out him. I talked to other Kashmiri Pandit leaders.
Hmm.
Please include, let's have those Kashmiri Pandits who never
Because
left.
they have very
But it
bad
was
economic conditions in valley.
because that shows you the nature of our people. I mean, it shows we don't think strategically because they are actually the real strength. People don't realize. They think we are in Jammu, so I am the real strength. The real strength is really what we could have nailed these people. How badly they are suffering. We could have
Suffering.
shown
Yes.
to the world how badly they are suffering. But there was no hue and cry in the valley. But anyway, the point is that we actually so all the decisions of 2009 were very critical in creating the thing, and Umar Saab was obviously the chief minister. Now I'll tell you my own story. I was in touch with him then before he became the chief minister, and after he became the chief minister, he said, "Why don't you come and see me?" And so we went, and he became chief minister on 5th in Jammu, and I met him in Srinagar on the 9th of January 2009. I had with me two Kashmiri Pandit leaders, local leaders from the from the people who never left the valley. Motilal Bhatt, who there was an organization called Hindu Welfare Society Kashmir, and the general secretary of that party, Sanjay Tikku, who subsequently
Sanjay Tiguchi.
created his own organization, KPSS.
Sanghar Samiti.
And so we went and saw him, and actually he had a good number of people there. He had himself, he had Ravindra Rana, who was his advisor at that time, and he was part of his party. Then there was Aslam Sogami was there, and there was his personal secretary. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but he was also one of the. He's now in that public group. He was one of he graduated from Pilani. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, it was a very good meeting, and he made a lot of promises. And later, I met him again a few years later and asked him what happened to those promises. He said, "Well, the center's focus was on the people who are outside the valley." and and
Not who are
so he
there.
so he gave a nice roundabout answer and kind of backed out and threw the thing back, in my court, so to say, by saying, center's focus was on the other one, so why would he want to upset the cart and do anything else? So so yeah, I know him, and so hopefully, I don't want to go too much into the detail about it, but let's put it this way: perhaps I'll be visiting the valley now in spring, and hopefully hope to see him again at that time. So there are he is not the same as his father. Let's be very clear. Father has this, and I have met father also. Whether I have met every chief minister uh, uh, since not Sheikh Abdullah and not Azad. Other than those, I have met everyone else.
Everyone.
And he's not his father. His father is, has a lot more sort of. He has a lot
Yeah,
more, and he has got this hang up of Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. He keeps saying no because, and that's by the way, that's another reason why also I think the government will be stable. One of the problems in the past has been that you have to always outperform your opponent who is still talking about Pakistan and Pakistani feelings. And there was always this worry: hey, if I don't talk like that, then maybe my followers will go and join the other side. Well, all that is gone now. I mean, today you could see. I mean, already Mehbooba Mufti is coming up with her own swan song and doing all kinds of things, and Lone is reminding this and that. But the truth of the matter is, they really, National Conference has proven to be a party which takes both Sunnis and Shias. It just cut the carpet under the rug of Mehbooba Mufti's PDP. I think the party is basically going to is going to splinter now. So I don't think, and same thing. There was threat. No, Jamaat will grow and Jamaat will create this, or Hurriyat people will be this, and it doesn't have to worry about. They all participate in the elections. So we all know today what their guru's brother. We all know even Awami Party, AIP. So I think at the end of the day, it'll be very interesting to see how he will do. Certainly, we wish him well. I mean, obviously, I would like him to do more about Kashmiri Pandits. I think the challenge, quite honestly, is recognizing them to be a constituent in the process, and that's why I think our entry ought to be through Sharia Handu. She had her father had a place in there, so there's a lot of goodwill there, and if we can help her, if we can get our energies focused together and because I don't really see any other way, because he has to do what central government does in terms of the policies, because Kashmir policy is with the central government, not with him.
Dr. Sir, before closing, there is one question. Why do you think, जो आपने अभी बता ही दिया है, why do you think that Umar Abdullah can't fulfill his promises that he made before elections?
Well, see, he gave, it was very smart of him. He took that first question. I'm sorry. He took that first question right away. He said, "I'm not going to talk about Article 370 because how can I talk to Article 370 against people who already took away my Article 370?" So I think he basically answered that question right away. So I think that is gone. One of the most provocations that Kashmir happens to Kashmiri politicians is the provocation done by the journalists. Journalists ask the questions, needle the politician to basically make anti-India statements. I think, and that will also change, because we already have seen that the journalist organization associations and all that have been changed. There's a new set of people. They have been given new guidelines. The courts have changed. We have this lawyers association, which was controlling the lawyers group. That has been dismantled. So you will see the change in the questions. I mean, the questions have to be still incisive and fair, but they don't have to be needling you so that you can always have to say something which is against India. And that used to be the character of Kashmiri politics, because politicians probably used to encourage that, because they would always say that look, they go to Delhi, they would go to Delhi, oh look, I'm being harassed for this, you got to give me something, I think those days are gone. The days when Umar Abdullah can run to Delhi and speak on behalf of his son, I don't think Modi government is really going to be listening. They'll probably tell him, if Umar has a problem, he needs to talk to us directly. I think those that method was done by him. It was done by Mufti when Mufti circumvented Azad, poor Azad in his place. He would run. He was more time in Delhi than he was in Srinagar during the time Azad was running the government. But Umar has learned, because I'll tell you an interesting incident. Shopian tragedy happened in 2009, which was a watershed moment, and actually that weakened Umar Abdullah significantly. I mean, poor guy.
Is it regarding that rape of those two girls?
What were alleged rape? Because it was never
alleged rape.
It was never a rape.
It was never
actually,
rape, yes.
if anybody has my book, You can read right down to the FIR story in this on that
Everything is here.
on
Kashmir Chronicle is this.
Shupian incident,
Hmm.
and so uh, what happened was the DGP at that time was Dr. Ashok Ban.
Hmm.
So Omar Abdullah calls Ban साहब क्या हो रहा है, ये क्या हुआ वहां पर? He said, जनाब कुछ नहीं हुआ, ये तो दो girls, they were coming home in the dark, they stumbled
फिसल
in
गई.
the water, in the muddy water. It was not very deep, but they stumbled and they fell face down and probably got injured, and they got fainted, and then they got expedited. So Omar Abdullah comes in his sort of not being really understanding how Kashmiri politics works. He came out with a statement. There's nothing to it. These girls just died like that. Immediately, there was action.
बहुत बड़ी
There's a
प्रॉब्लम हुई थी.
there's a
Yes.
there's a Rashtra Rifles camp right nearby. There's election going on where sort of a midterm election between Hurriyat leader, Hurriyat person, and this thing, and the whole thing was changed. The whole thing, right down to the doctors' autopsies, everything was, all the papers were, you talk about the things that are happening now in elsewhere in that incident where the doctor in Calcutta, that RG Kaur Hospital. RG
Yes,
Kaur
yes.
Hospital happened in the Shupian, dispensary or pharmacy or whatever that sub hospital, district hospital is called, years back, 15 years back. Everything was changed to show. And then, of course, when subsequently CBI did the inquiry, and they found that there was nothing to it, but politics took over, and he couldn't overcome that because he was still inexperienced, and he didn't know how to
Yes.
do it. And Dr. Ashok ji regretted later that I should have also told him, don't go public with the news. Let us show through the formal process that is what has happened, because because accusation was he has already made the announcement without really having any proof or any kind of investigation being completed and
Yes.
all that stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so I think he is wiser today. You could see that, quite honestly, when after the
Wiser as
election.
well mature थी.
Well, yeah, you could see after the election he showed a lot of humility. He met with every one of the people who came to him. He bent down. They put the mala around him and all that. I think you are seeing a much more experienced politician today than you were seeing before.
जी डॉक्टर साहब, आपसे अब लास्ट में एक क्लोज स्टेटमेंट लेना चाहूँगा टू रिगार्डिंग द गवर्नमेंट, प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ उमर अब्दुल्ला, जो भी हम बात ही कर रहे थे, उनको आप क्या अपनी तरफ से एक एडवाइस देना चाहेंगे?
Well, I mean, my advice is to the government that please govern wisely, but part of the burden of that is also to not forget Kashmiri Pandits, because they are also, in fact, they are the original sons of soil, sons and daughters and fathers and mothers of soil. And I think, to the extent that there can be an understanding with Delhi in terms of improving their lot, both of the people who never left the valley, because they are still suffering, many of them, and
Yeah,
those
yes.
who left the valley, and again, many of them are suffering, especially in the transit camps, who are totally relying on the government subsidy for their monthly income. So I'm hoping that there will be that sort of a consideration given, so that all the people of Jammu and Kashmir will benefit from this government, and we wish this government all their best.
डॉक्टर विजय साजावाल जी, आप यूएसए से हमारे साथ जुड़े थे, और हम होप करेंगे कि आगे भी बहुत सारे कुछ दिक्कतें हैं, कठिनाइयां हैं जम्मू कश्मीर में, खासतौर पर कश्मीरी पंडितों में, उन पे भी आप हमें एडवाइस भी देते रहेंगे, हमारे साथ बातचीत भी करते रहेंगे। आज आप आए और आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह से वाजह किया कि जम्मू कश्मीर की ये जो हुकूमत किस तरह से आगे चलेगी। अपना समय निकालने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
Thank you. Namaskar.